Slaves played a big part in early Anglo-Saxon society. They were often the descendants of the conquered British folk. The Anglo-Saxon word for Britain got used the same as the word for slave. However, as the Saxons settled, the most common kind of slave was a penal slave. Someone made a slave as punishment for a crime. The poorest Anglo-Saxons also gave themselves up to slavery in hard times, selling family members or even themselves so their kin could survive. Slaves had limited rights under Anglo-Saxon law, but they did have certain days where they could work like free men and earn their own money. On these days, slaves could sell to whomsoever they please anything of what anyone had given them in God's name. Slaves might not have been mistreated, though they weren't treated well either, but it'd be wrong to assume all the slave owners were cruel folk. Slaves were treated as property and protected like any other owned goods. Though the rights of slaves were few, owning them came with risk. Owners were held legally responsible for whatever their slaves did. So taking on a slave weren't something folk did lightly. Some slaves earned their freedom, and that was a big deal to the Saxons, who held proper ceremonies to mark it. Slaves got less brutal punishments for crimes, so they'd still be able to work after. Slavery was seen as barbaric across the water by the later Franks, who turned away from it long before most of the world. The tale went that Pope Gregory the Great saw some beautiful blue-eyed, fair-haired and fair-skinned slaves in a market over in Italy, and was told they were Angles. Not Angles, but angels, he said. It were a pun, and it sparked an idea, one you can feel in Bede, that the English were a chosen race. This were the first time the English ethnicity ever got mentioned in history. Pope Gregory I would later send Augustine of Canterbury to bring Christianity to these new English folk. This tale were once a key part of the English national story, though it's been slowly forgotten. It was something every English child got taught back in the day, but the education system's gone downhill since. It's worth noting that in this first telling of the English people, they were slaves. And that's something the English had to fight against for nearly all our history, another thing the modern education system fails to teach.
Be sure to check out my other channel, History Sticks, for the complete, longer and comprehensive video.